The night was quiet, except for the faint hum of rain against the windshield and the lonely rhythm of a single mother's sighs. Amelia drove home after another exhausting double shift, her hands trembling slightly from fatigue. The dashboard clock blinked 11:47 p.m. Her son would already be asleep again without her reading him a bedtime story. She felt the ache in her chest that came from guilt and survival fighting each other every single day. The road stretched ahead, empty and cold, when suddenly, out of nowhere, her headlights caught the twisted glint of metal, a motorcycle lying on its side. Her breath caught. And then she saw him, a man sprawled on the asphalt, motionless, blood trickling from his temple. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and that good hearts still exist in this world, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to channel name. Let's keep real human stories alive. Amelia slammed on the brakes, her car fishtailing slightly before stopping. She didn't think. She just moved. She ran through the rain, her shoes splashing in the puddles, her heart pounding louder than the thunder above. The man was breathing, barely. His leather jacket was torn, and his face was pale under the flickering streetlight. He was tattooed, muscular, and looked dangerous to most people. But to Amelia, he was just someone who needed help. Her nurse training, cut short years ago when she got pregnant, kicked in automatically. She ripped off her own scarf, pressed it against his wound, and whispered, "Stay with me." The rain mixed with his blood, washing over her hands, cold and sticky. Her phone trembled in her shaking grip as she called for an ambulance, shouting the location, begging them to hurry. She stayed until the sirens came, until they pulled him onto a stretcher, until he squeezed her hand weakly before being loaded into the ambulance. She stood there soaked, shivering, watching the flashing lights fade into the distance, wondering if he'd make it. The next morning, she showed up late to the diner. Her manager's face twisted in irritation the moment she walked in. "You're 20 minutes late, Amelia," he barked. She tried to explain about the accident, the blood, the man fighting for his life, but he waved her off. "You always have excuses. We need people who show up on time." And before she could even finish speaking, he handed her an envelope with her final paycheck. Just like that. 3 years of loyalty, of covering extra shifts, of swallowing disrespect for the sake of her son, and it ended over one act of compassion. She walked home that day through the drizzle, her uniform still damp, the envelope crushed in her fist. Her son, Jamie, ran to her the moment she stepped in. "Mommy! You're early," he said with the kind of joy that twisted her heart. She smiled, forcing the tears to stay back. She couldn't let him see her break. "Yeah, baby," she whispered. "Mommy's home early today." That night, when he finally drifted to sleep, she sat by the window, looking at the streetlights reflecting off the puddles, and cried quietly. It wasn't fair. She had done the right thing. She had helped. But the world, she thought, didn't always reward kindness. Sometimes it punished it. Days passed. She began looking for new jobs, but the bills piled up. The landlord's tone changed from friendly to cold. Groceries grew fewer. Still, she never regretted stopping that night. Something inside her told her it was what she was meant to do. A week later, she went to the diner, not to beg, but to pick up the last of her things. The owner looked up from his paperwork with a sigh. "Look, Amelia, you can't be here," he started, but the sound of engines drowned out his words. A deep, rolling thunder filled the street. It started with one, then two, then dozens. The rumble grew louder until everyone inside turned to the window. A line of motorcycles stretched as far as the eye could see, chrome gleaming under the sun, black leather jackets bearing the same insignia, Iron Wolves Motorcycle Club. People from the nearby stores stepped outside, staring as the bikers parked one after another, lining the entire block. Then the crowd parted, and the man from that rainy night stepped forward. Cleaned up now, but with a faint scar running across his temple. He walked with purpose, his eyes fixed on Amelia. Her heart stopped. "You," he said quietly, voice rough but steady. "You saved my life." Everyone in the diner froze. Amelia blinked, unsure if she should even speak. He went on, "I woke up in the hospital, and they told me some woman stayed with me the whole time. You gave me your scarf. You held my hand." He smiled faintly. "We don't forget things like that." He turned to look at the row of bikers behind him, some rough, some scarred, all silent and serious. "When I told my brothers what happened, they said we ride for her." And they did point. One of the bikers handed the manager a folded piece of paper, a check for the amount Amelia would have earned in 6 months. Another handed Jamie a small toy motorcycle. The leader, still standing before her, said, "You lost your job for doing the right thing. So we made sure you wouldn't have to worry for a while." Amelia's tears came freely now. The crowd outside clapped. Strangers recorded with their phones, cheering as the bikers revved their engines in salute. From that day forward, the diner never saw so many customers again. The story spread like wildfire. Single mom fired after saving biker. Biker gang shows up to thank her. Within days, job offers poured in. A local clinic heard what happened and hired her as a nurse's assistant, saying they needed people with a heart like hers. Her life changed, not overnight, but beautifully, steadily. The same road that had once brought her pain became a symbol of hope. Months later, on a bright Saturday morning, the same group of bikers rolled down that street again, but this time, they weren't there for payback or gratitude. They came for breakfast. At her new cafe. Amelia stood behind the counter, her son serving coffee, laughter filling the air as motorcycles gleamed outside in the sun. The man she saved raised his mug toward her, nodding quietly. She smiled back, tears welling again, but this time, they were tears of peace, because sometimes, kindness costs you something at first, but in the end, it gives you everything you ever needed. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and share this video. Subscribe to channel name to keep these powerful true life stories alive and to remind the world that kindness still matters. Speech balloon special request. Comment kindness always wins below if you believe that one good deed can change a life forever.